Hi, I'm Rachel. What would you do if your stepmother tried to have you declared mentally insane to steal your inheritance? I fought back. And when the psychiatrist discovered her manipulation tactics, Linda's world came crashing down in ways she never saw coming. Before we dive in, what time are you watching this, and have you ever dealt with someone who made you question your own reality? Drop a comment below. I read every single one. Because sometimes the people who claim to love you are the ones slowly destroying your mind. It started 6 months after my father David died. I was 24, fresh out of college, and trying to process losing the only parent I'd ever really known. My mother died when I was 3, and Dad raised me alone until he married Linda when I was 16. Linda seemed perfect at first. She was attentive, caring, and made my father happier than I'd seen him in years. But the moment Dad's will was read, everything changed. Dad left me the family house in Seattle, a beautiful Victorian worth about $800,000, plus his investment accounts totaling nearly $2 million. Linda got a generous monthly allowance and could live in the house as long as I agreed. At first, I thought this was fair. She'd been Dad's wife for 8 years. But Linda had other plans. It started small. She'd move my things and then act confused when I asked about them. Rachel, honey, your coffee mug has always been in that cabinet. Are you feeling okay? Then she'd forget conversations we'd had just hours before. I never said I'd pick up your prescription. You must have dreamed that. At first, I thought she was just grieving and distracted, but it escalated quickly. I'd find my bedroom door unlocked when I was certain I'd locked it. Food would disappear from the fridge, and Linda would insist I'd already eaten it. Mail addressed to me would go missing, and she'd claim it never arrived. The breaking point came when my laptop disappeared. I had been working on a freelance graphic design project worth $5,000, money I desperately needed. My laptop contained all my work files, client contacts, and portfolio. When I woke up one morning, it was gone. Linda, have you seen my laptop? What laptop, sweetie? My silver MacBook. It was on my desk last night. Rachel, you don't have a laptop. You've been talking about buying one, but you never did. I stood there, staring at her, feeling like the ground was shifting beneath my feet. Linda, I've had that laptop for 3 years. I used it yesterday. You've seen me working on it hundreds of times. Honey, I'm worried about you. You've been so confused lately. Maybe you should talk to someone. That night, I tore my room apart looking for that laptop. I called my best friend Jessica in tears. Jess, I feel like I'm going crazy. Linda is acting like my laptop never existed. Rachel, that's gaslighting. Classic manipulation. Your dad told me Linda had financial problems before she married him. Maybe she's trying to drive you out of the house. But why would she do that? Think about it. If you're declared mentally incompetent, who gets control of your inheritance? The thought hit me like ice water. Over the next few weeks, Linda's campaign intensified. She'd wake me up at 3 a.m., claiming I'd been screaming in my sleep. She'd invite neighbors over, and then loudly discuss my episodes, where I'd supposedly forgotten entire conversations, or lost things. She started leaving notes around the house, reminders for me to take medication I'd never been prescribed. Don't forget your morning pills, Rachel. Love, Linda. When I confronted her, she'd look genuinely confused. Sweetie, doctor. Peterson prescribed those for your anxiety. You've been taking them for weeks. I've never seen Dr. Peterson in my life. Oh, honey, you're getting worse. I'm really scared for you. The worst part was that I started doubting myself. When someone consistently tells you your reality is wrong, you begin to question everything. Maybe I was losing my mind. Maybe grief had affected me more than I realized. Then Linda suggested I see a psychiatrist. Dr. Martinez is wonderful. He specializes in young adults dealing with trauma and memory issues. I think he could really help you. I agreed, because honestly, I was terrified. What if something was actually wrong with me? Dr. Martinez's office was in a sleek medical building downtown. He was a kind-looking man in his 50s, with gentle eyes and a calm demeanor. Linda insisted on coming with me, for support. So, Rachel, your stepmother Linda called me because she's concerned about some memory issues and behavioral changes you've been experiencing since your father's death. I nodded, feeling small and confused. Can you tell me about these episodes? I started to speak, but Linda jumped in. Doctor, she's been having severe delusions. She insists she owns things that don't exist, like an expensive laptop. She forgets entire conversations, sometimes within hours. Yesterday, she accused me of stealing from her, when I've done nothing but care for her since David died. Dr. Martinez took notes, occasionally glancing at me. Rachel, how do you respond to what Linda is saying? I don't know anymore. Everything feels mixed up. But I swear I had that laptop. I remember working on it, saving files, everything. Memory can be tricky, especially during grief, he said gently. But I'd like to do a more comprehensive evaluation. Linda, would you mind if I spoke with Rachel alone? Of course. I'll be right outside. The moment Linda left, something shifted in Dr. Martinez's expression. Rachel, I need you to be completely honest with me. Has Linda been the only one witnessing these episodes? Yes, but... And these memory issues, do they only happen around her or things she's involved with? I paused, thinking. Now that you mention it, I remember everything else perfectly. My work, my friends, my routines. It's only things with Linda that seem confusing. Dr. Martinez leaned forward. I'm going to ask you some specific questions, and I want you to trust your instincts. Don't second-guess yourself. For the next hour, he walked me through detailed questions about my daily life, my memories, my relationships. As we talked, I realized something crucial. My memory was fine. Everything outside of Linda's influence was crystal clear. Rachel, I want to try something. I'm going to have you write down everything you remember about your laptop. What it looked like, what files were on it, when you bought it, where you typically used it. I wrote for 20 minutes, describing in detail my silver MacBook Pro, the design projects I'd worked on, even the small scratch on the corner from when I dropped it last year. Now, I want you to describe your father's last weeks. What did he say to you? What were his concerns? As I talked about Dad, I remembered something I'd forgotten. 3 weeks before he died, Dad had pulled me aside. Rachel, honey, I need to tell you something about Linda. I love her, but I've noticed she's been difficult about money lately. If anything happens to me, I want you to know that house and those accounts are yours. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. What do you mean, Dad? Just trust your instincts. You're smarter than you think, and you're stronger than you know. I told Dr. Martinez about that conversation, and his expression grew serious. Rachel, I've been practicing psychiatry for 20 years. What you're describing isn't grief-related memory loss or psychological trauma. What you're describing is systematic gaslighting, a form of psychological abuse where someone manipulates you into questioning your own reality. But why would Linda do that? Think about what she gains if you're declared mentally incompetent. The realization hit me like a freight train. If I was declared mentally unfit, Linda would gain control of my inheritance as my guardian. The house, the money, everything Dad left me. Doctor, what do I do? First, we document everything. I want you to start keeping a detailed journal of every interaction with Linda. Dates, times, what was said, what happened. Second, I'm going to recommend you find somewhere else to stay while we work through this. But where can I go? Do you have friends or family who can help? I thought of Jessica. She'd been telling me to leave Linda's house for weeks. And third, Dr. Martinez continued, I want to see if we can gather some concrete evidence. Linda is going to expect me to recommend intensive treatment or possibly involuntary commitment. Instead, I'm going to suggest we continue with regular therapy sessions. That will give us time to build a case. A case for what? Rachel, what Linda is doing to you is a crime. Psychological abuse, fraud, attempted theft of inheritance. These are serious charges. When Linda came back into the room, Dr. Martinez's demeanor shifted back to professional neutrality. Linda, I've completed my initial assessment. Rachel is clearly dealing with some confusion related to grief, but nothing that indicates severe mental illness or the need for hospitalization. Linda's face flickered with disappointment before quickly covering it with concern. Are you sure, doctor? She seems so much worse at home. I'd like to see Rachel twice a week for therapy sessions. Sometimes environmental factors can exacerbate symptoms. It might be helpful if Rachel spent some time with friends or other family members to see if a change of environment helps. But doctor, she needs constant supervision. What if she hurts herself? Dr. Martinez looked directly at Linda. From my assessment, Rachel poses no danger to herself or others. In fact, I think some space from stressful situations might be exactly what she needs. That night, I packed a bag and went to Jessica's apartment. For the first time in months, I slept through the night without someone waking me up or strange noises in the house. Over the next 2 weeks, my symptoms completely disappeared. My memory was sharp, my thinking was clear, and I felt like myself again. But I followed Dr. Martinez's advice and documented everything. I started noticing patterns I'd missed before. Linda only questioned my memory about valuable items or important documents. She never forgot conversations about household chores or her own needs. Her concern for my mental health always centered around my ability to manage finances or make important decisions. During my sessions with Dr. Martinez, we worked on a plan. Rachel, I want to try something. Next time you interact with Linda, I want you to record the conversation on your phone. Can you do that without her knowing? I think so. Good. Also, I'm going to contact your father's attorney. If Linda is attempting to manipulate you into giving up your inheritance, they need to know. The opportunity came when Linda called me, crying. Rachel, honey, I miss you so much. Please come home. I found some of your father's old papers, and I think there might have been a mistake with the will. I hit record before calling her back. What kind of mistake, Linda? Well, I found a document that suggests your father wanted me to have the house if anything happened to your mental health. I think he was worried about the family history of mental illness on your mother's side. There was no family history of mental illness on my mother's side. Linda was making it up, but she was doing it on tape. That doesn't sound right, Linda. Dad never mentioned anything like that. Oh, sweetie, you're so confused lately. Maybe you just don't remember. Why don't you come home and we can look at the papers together? We could even have them updated to reflect what your father really wanted. She was asking me to sign away my inheritance. On recording. I played the conversation for Dr. Martinez the next day. Rachel, this is exactly what we needed. She's essentially confessing to fraud. But I want to push a little further. Are you willing to meet with her one more time? With me present? What do you mean? I want to bring Linda in for what she thinks is a session about your treatment plan. She'll think I'm going to recommend institutionalization. Instead, we're going to confront her with the evidence. 3 days later, Linda sat in Dr. Martinez's office, practically vibrating with excitement. She thought this was the day she'd get me committed and gain control of my inheritance. "Doctor, thank you so much for squeezing us in. Rachel has been so much worse since she left home. I think she really needs intensive treatment." Dr. Martinez nodded professionally. "Linda, before we discuss Rachel's treatment, I'd like to review some of the evidence I've gathered about her condition." He pulled out a folder and began reading from my journal entries, detailed accounts of Linda's gaslighting, complete with dates and times. Linda's face went pale, but she tried to maintain composure. "Doctor, those are clearly the writings of someone who's delusional." "Perhaps. But then there's this." He played the recording of our phone conversation, where Linda tried to get me to sign away my inheritance. The color drained from Linda's face completely. "Linda, in my professional opinion, Rachel is not suffering from any mental illness. She is, however, the victim of systematic psychological abuse designed to make her question her own sanity." "That's ridiculous. I love Rachel like my own daughter." "Then why did you try to convince her to sign documents giving you her inheritance? Why did you consistently deny the existence of possessions she clearly owned? Why did every one of her episodes conveniently relate to her financial assets or decision-making capacity?" Linda stood up abruptly. "This is insane. You're both crazy if you think I would—" "Sit down, Linda." The authority in Dr. Martinez's voice stopped her cold. "I've already contacted David's attorney and the police. What you've done constitutes elder abuse, psychological abuse, and attempted fraud. The recording Rachel made of your phone call is evidence of your intent to steal her inheritance through manipulation." Linda's mask finally dropped completely. "That little bitch doesn't deserve that money. I took care of David for 8 years. I earned that house, that money. She's just some spoiled brat who thinks she's entitled to everything." "There it is, Doctor," Martinez said quietly. "The real Linda." Linda realized what she'd just said and tried to backtrack. "I didn't mean... I was just upset. Rachel knows I love her." But it was too late. Dr. Martinez had been recording the session. 2 weeks later, Linda was arrested on charges of psychological abuse, attempted fraud, and elder abuse. The court granted me a restraining order, and Linda was removed from the house. When the police searched her room, they found my laptop hidden in her closet, along with several of my personal documents and pieces of jewelry that had disappeared over the months. They also found a folder labeled Rachel's Treatment, filled with printed articles about how to have someone declared mentally incompetent, names of psychiatrists who might be more flexible than Dr. Martinez, and even a draft of legal documents that would have given Linda control of my finances. The most chilling discovery was a journal Linda had been keeping, documenting her manipulation tactics like a science experiment. Day 15. Moved R's coffee mug. Denied knowing where it was. She looked confused. Good progress. Day 23. Hid laptop. Convinced R she never owned one. She's starting to doubt herself more frequently. Day 31. Woke R up at 3 a.m., claiming she was screaming. Neighbors now think she has night terrors. She had been systematically destroying my mental health for months, documenting it like a research project. The trial lasted 3 months. Linda's defense attorney tried to argue that she genuinely believed I was mentally ill and was acting in my best interests. But the evidence was overwhelming. The recordings, the journal, the hidden possessions, the financial motive. Dr. Martinez testified as an expert witness, explaining how gaslighting works and how Linda's behavior fit the textbook definition of psychological abuse. The jury deliberated for less than 2 hours. Linda was sentenced to 3 years in prison for fraud and psychological abuse. She was also ordered to pay restitution for the therapy I needed to recover from her manipulation, plus damages for the emotional distress she caused. But the real victory wasn't the legal outcome. It was getting my sanity back. For months after Linda's arrest, I struggled with self-doubt. Even knowing what she'd done, I'd catch myself questioning my own memories or second-guessing my decisions. Gaslighting leaves invisible scars that take time to heal. Dr. Martinez continued working with me, helping me rebuild my confidence in my own perceptions and memories. He taught me to recognize manipulation tactics and trust my instincts. Rachel, your father was right. You are smarter than you think, and you're definitely stronger than you know. You survived a calculated psychological attack and fought back. That takes incredible courage. 6 months after Linda's sentencing, I was sitting in my father's house, my house, going through his papers, when I found something that made me cry. It was a letter addressed to me, dated just 1 week before his death. My dearest Rachel, if you're reading this, something has happened to me, and I'm worried about what Linda might do. I've been noticing some concerning behaviors lately. The way she talks about money, the way she looks at you when she thinks no one is watching. I want you to know that everything I left you was intentional. The house, the money, all of it. That's yours, because I trust you to use it wisely and live a life that makes you happy. If anyone ever tries to tell you that you're not capable of managing your own life, don't believe them. You are brilliant, strong, and more resilient than you realize. Trust yourself, sweetheart. Your instincts are good. Your mind is sharp. And if anyone tries to convince you otherwise, fight back with everything you have. I love you more than words can say. Dad, I called Dr. Martinez that day. Doctor, I found something I think you should know about. When I read him the letter, he was quiet for a long moment. Rachel, your father saw what was happening. He was trying to protect you even after he was gone. Do you think he knew Linda would try this? I think your father was a smart man who recognized dangerous patterns, and I think he raised a daughter who was strong enough to survive them. Today, I'm 26 years old. I still live in my father's house, which is now truly mine. I've started my own graphic design business, and it's thriving. I've learned to trust my instincts again, and I've built relationships with people who support and believe in me. Linda was released from prison last month on parole. She's required to stay at least 500 feet away from me and cannot contact me in any way. Sometimes I wonder if she learned anything from what happened, but mostly I don't think about her at all. The most important thing I learned from this experience is that your reality belongs to you. When someone tries to convince you that your memories are wrong, your perceptions are flawed, or your feelings don't matter, that's not love. That's control. If someone consistently makes you question your own sanity, document everything. Talk to people outside the situation. Trust your instincts. And remember that mental manipulation is a real form of abuse that leaves real psychological scars. Dr. Martinez still checks in on me every few months, not as a patient, but as a friend who helped save my life. He told me recently that Linda's case has become a teaching example in his field, a textbook case of financial gaslighting. Your story, he said, is helping other people recognize when they're being manipulated. You fought back not just for yourself, but for everyone who comes after you. Have you ever had someone make you question your own reality? Someone who claimed to love you while slowly convincing you that you couldn't trust your own mind? Share your story in the comments below. You're not alone, and your experiences matter. And if someone in your life is making you doubt yourself, remember this. You know what you know. Trust yourself. Document everything. And don't be afraid to ask for help. Sometimes the people who claim to be protecting us are the ones we need protection from. If you want to hear more real family drama stories about manipulation, gaslighting, and finding the strength to fight back, don't forget to subscribe. Because your reality matters, your memories are valid, and you deserve to be believed.